Welcome to my channel Vintage-Glam. I'm your host Yvonne. In today's episode, I'm talking about the most iconic dress in cinema of all time, the black Givenchy dress worn by Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Behind that image is a little-known fact. Audrey wasn't wearing custom wardrobe made for the film. She chose the black dress, along with two others, a coat, and a few accessories from Givenchy's existing line. These were pieces he had already designed for his 1960 autumn-winter collection. None of these pieces were made for the movie. The Novella-Breakfast at Tiffany's, written by Truman Capote, centered around a young woman with a questionable profession and past. The story had been rejected by many magazines, including Harper's Bazaar, who had already paid for the story. The editor, Nancy White, chose not to run the piece because she didn't want to upset Tiffany's, who was a large advertising client of the magazine. Instead, Esquire published the story in 1958, and suddenly it became the most coveted property in town. A young producer at Paramount, Martin Jurow, decided to go directly to the source. He met Truman Capote at the famous Colony Club in New York City and paid him $65,000 to secure the rights to make a film adaptation. George Axelrod, whose screenwriting credits included Bus Stop and The 7-Year Itch, wrote the screenplay. Blake Edwards, who was still in his 30s, was tapped to be the director. He had successfully directed Operation Petticoat and Mr. Corey, both starring Tony Curtis. Some of the names tossed around to star in the leading role of Holly Golightly were Marilyn Monroe and Shirley MacLaine. Shirley read the script and quickly declined. The producers from Paramount thought Marilyn was too on the nose for a role like this. She was also deep into the method school of acting, searching for a character's psychological motivation. Marilyn's acting coach, Paula Strasberg, made her refuse the part. Marilyn's issues with drugs and alcohol were also beginning to surface. Blake Edwards wanted Audrey Hepburn for the lead. Truman Capote always thought Marilyn should play the part. Edwards' approach to the story would keep Hepburn's elegance intact. She agreed to play the role. The politics of costuming the film were also complicated. Audrey Hepburn, Givenchy, and Edith Head worked together previously on the film Sabrina. Audrey played a shy chauffeur's daughter who blossoms into an elegant Paris-trained sophisticate. She chose her Parisian gowns from Givenchy, while Edith Head designed everything else. When the film was released, Givenchy's name wasn't in the credits. Edith Head won the Oscars for costume design on that film, never once crediting Givenchy for his gowns. For Breakfast at Tiffany's, the credits were explicit. Miss Hepburn's wardrobe, principally by Hubert de Givenchy. Still, Audrey did not borrow enough garments from Givenchy to costume the entire film. Edith Head was responsible for Holly Golightly's more casual, non-glamorous looks, including the costume worn in the iconic Moon River fire escape scene. Of the Givenchy pieces Hepburn did wear, several became instant cultural touchstones. Suddenly, everyone wanted a black dress, 3-strand pearls, and a mink hat. Edith received costume supervising credits, as she also oversaw the rest of the cast's wardrobe and the creation of duplicate costumes worn by Holly. This was in case any garments were damaged during filming. One such copy of the black dress featured a front slit, created specifically for promotional photography, rather than the film itself. The designer Pauline Trigere provided the 4 ensembles worn by Patricia Neal, who played the character 2E. These 4 outfits are outstanding. Trigere's outfits act as a counterpoint to Holly. These impeccably tailored looks are bathed in different shades of blue, conveying wealth, confidence, and power. These looks are the antithesis of Audrey's kooky character, Holly. The outfits are beautifully structured and make 2E seem decades older than Holly, even though in real life, they were roughly the same age. Part of Breakfast at Tiffany's enduring appeal was its music, composed by Henry Mancini. Blake Edwards had collaborated with Mancini before. They had had great success on the TV show Peter Gunn. Together with Johnny Mercer, they created Moon River, and the song would go on to win the Academy Award for Best Original Song, becoming one of the most recognizable melodies in film history. My favorite sequence is the party scene in Holly's apartment. Edwards intentionally cast seasoned actors to make the scene appear spontaneous and fun. He later used this as a template for his 1968 film, The Party. Breakfast at Tiffany's, released in 1961, was a commercial success, even as critics were divided on its tone. Yet the film quickly took on a life of its own, separate from its literary origins. It cemented Audrey Hepburn as a Hollywood icon. One element of the film that has not aged gracefully is Mickey Rooney's portrayal of Mr. Yunioshi, a performance that reflects the silly but casually racist portrayals embedded in Hollywood at that time. It is widely criticized today in this politically correct era. The Givenchy black dress remains one of the most influential dresses in the history of 20th century clothing and costume design. One version of the black dress resides in the house of Givenchy's archives. Another copy lives at the Garment Museum in Madrid, and a third was sold at Christie's auction in 2006 for $807,000. Breakfast at Tiffany's endures not because it is perfect, but because it captured something about post-war glamour, modern womanhood, and romantic yearning. Holly Golightly, wrapped in Givenchy, framed by Mancini's melody, and embodied by Hepburn, became more than a character. She became an image, a mood, and a lasting symbol of cinematic elegance. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.